Hey, this is just going to be a quick update on my game House and Hand, and as I'm sure you can tell from the title, I'm actually going to cancel the game for now, and I wanted to talk a bit about why and what's next for me in this video. So, like I said, I'm canceling House and Hand for now. The main reason is that the game just isn't working. The systems are incredibly complex, the design is unintuitive, and a playable demo is so far off that I just don't think it's worth it to put in a ton of time and effort to finish the prototype just for the playtesters to confirm to me that the game sucks. On top of the coding and design flaws, I'm just not excited about the game, and if I'm not excited, how can I convince other people to be excited, you know? The game feels flat and stale, and I just don't really see any potential in it anymore, which probably isn't objectively true. I'm sure there's a ton of potential, but I just don't care enough anymore to bring it out. So I made the decision just to cancel the game. I may come back to it in the future, but for now, I'm not gonna work on it. My realization that the game wasn't working actually came when I was building the port system. I think I mentioned that in the last devlog, but it was basically a system to buy and sell resources at randomized variable rates, kind of like a stock market or the turnip market from Animal Crossing. I got a working scaffold of the port system using test data that you can see right here. The buying and selling system works, and you end up with a total that's either what you pay or what you'll receive, which is cool and all, but the UI is awful. For one, this panel is massive. If you even had 5 ports built, you would have to scroll a lot just to see all of them. For two, there's no good way to tell the player that they don't have enough resources to sell or they don't have enough money to buy. This is what made me realize that something was entirely off with the game. As a player, there are a lot of mental hoops I have to jump through to make sense of what's going on here. I'm not saying this is a horrible design, but in a bigger game, this little system here would have its own tutorial. And that's all well and good, but when you realize that this isn't even a main part of the game loop, you start to realize that this game's gotten a bit too convoluted. Now you may be thinking, just cut the port system, call it a day. But if I cut the port system, I only have 3 buildings in the game, so then building doesn't feel like a core pillar of the game, which it was supposed to. Also, what happens if the player completely runs out of resources? Furthermore, what happens? Why are there 2 different resources to build stuff? What's even the point of this? Why do you have cards to play? Does the fact that they're cards have any meaningful reason, or was it just because it was my original idea? And it's humans on the game board this year because you get the point. There are a ton of unanswered questions, and as the system got more and more complicated, the design just kind of started to fall apart. I mentioned that this was an easy trap to fall into because I think when you're coding away at fancy systems and data structures, it can be easy to forget the design of the game, and instead only focus on the architecture of the code. I actually think I did some pretty sweet coding things in this project, and I learned a lot, but the actual game itself wasn't really coming together into anything I could imagine as fun. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not against complicated systems. I mean, I love the Kingdom Hearts series, and you practically need a 4-year degree to understand those games. Problem here was that the systems were getting complicated to compensate for a lack of intuitive design. A game as simple as I was hoping House and Hand would be should practically need no tutorial because of how intuitive everything is. That was not what was going on. So why did this happen? Well, I think there are 3 main reasons. 1, complete lack of planning and game design prior to starting to code. I didn't create a game design document or anything. I just started coding and tried to figure it out as I went. When I first started the game, there was no building system and you'd only play cards, and it was going to be a lot like Dwarf Romantic or something. Here's some old footage of that version. 2, I didn't prototype anything. At no point in the development of this game has anyone other than me played it. I've learned that a playable prototype should be your first priority because it's impossible to tell if a game is going to be fun without playing it. I think it's better to add to a playable game rather than try to have everything come together at once. 3, I took way too long in development. I've been working on this game on and off now for so long, and I've had such long periods of time in between my development sessions that the inspiration faded and the code just kind of started looking unfamiliar. I don't think you should rely entirely on motivation and inspiration to finish projects. A lot of times you will just have to work even though you don't care about the game, but I had completely lost the plot of the design and the code because I would go weeks or even months without thinking about the project. When I first envisioned this project, it was supposed to take 3 months max. To be honest, canceling the game wasn't an easy decision, even though I knew that it wasn't working. This was partly because I hate abandoning projects. I really like just to finish stuff, even if it sucks. But it was mostly because of the incredibly nice comments I received on the devlogs. I started making these videos just for shits and giggles, and I never expected anyone to care, let alone to leave such nice comments, so thank you truly. If you're interested, there is a built version of House and Hand on itch.io that you can play. I'm gonna preface this with a massive warning that the game isn't really playable. There's not a lot to do in it, and there might be a lot of game-breaking bugs, but if you're curious, I'll leave a link in the description. Well, I'm gonna quit game development and I'm gonna delete my YouTube channel. Just kidding. I've actually started working on a new game. I've learned my lessons and I'm shooting for a small playable demo by the end of September. You can hold me to that. And I'm planning my ass off with this one. I've wanted to jump in and start coding many times, but I'm trying to hold back and make sure I have all my ducks in a row before I get lost in development hell or purgatory or whatever again. I'm gonna release another video explaining the project a bit more, but for now I'll just leave you with a little mock-up I made. These assets I'm using are from some really great packs off itch.io. I'll leave the links for those in the description as well. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and again, thank you for all the positive feedback. I can't tell you how much it means to me. It's really awesome to see, so thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all of that. It really helps a small channel like mine, so yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you later.